Find out how we make starting over easier.
It's time for the Big Three. In today's topics, same old story, Strawman, and this week's must-read. So let's bring in the Big Three panel. Politics editor for Roll Call, Shira Center. Columnist with Chicago Defender and professor of political science at Hiram College, Jason Johnson. And MSNBC contributor and former Bush Cheney senior advisor, Robert Traynham. And a welcome to all three of you.
Hello there.
So here we go. First, the same old story. We have former Governor Sarah Palin delivering the keynote address last night at CPAC. Here's part of that.
Thank you, Texas, because liberty needs a Congress on cruise control. There's no free ride. Someone pays, someone always pays. I do not like when Congress stills. I do not like their crony dill. And you're not just sitting back, just hanging with the Choom gang. I do not like this spying, man. I do not like, oh yes we can.
So Jason, what do you make of her comments?
I think she's fantastic. I mean, I've always wondered, and then I realize it's because she's not that bright on the air, why Sarah Palin's rhetoric doesn't last longer, why it doesn't connect with more people. She's got wit, she's got engagement, she's incredibly charismatic, but she always fails because she doesn't have enough policy behind it. So I thought it was a great speech. It's a shame that the Republican Party can't find a way to sell her outside of CPAC.
Huh, I didn't expect that. How about this, Shira? How relevant is Sarah Palin in the Republican Party right now? I mean, what kind of influence does she really have?
I think she has a lot of influence with an audience like CPAC, right? But CPAC is not the Republican Party. It is a much younger version to the right of the Republican Party. I think on Capitol Hill especially, she's very little influence. I don't remember the last time a Republican lawmaker said that they were influenced in their position because of something Sarah Palin said, right? It doesn't happen anymore, at least not in today's Congress.
Right, which is, you're kind of echoing Jason there because he talks about a lack of policy in her comments there. Robert, what about Sarah Palin's goal? What do you think is her objective?
I think she wants to be a part of the conversation. Look, let's call Sarah Palin what she is. She's a cheerleader. She does very good on the stump. She's able to stoke people's emotions. She's obviously very good in terms of off-color humor, and she's also very good at raising money. And so there's something to be said about that. I agree with Jason. There's not a lot of policy there. There's not a lot of substance there, but we knew that. We've always known that about Sarah Palin going back to 2008. But what she does do is she does rally the base, and she does it very well, and she's able to be that cheerleader that, quite frankly, most Republicans and even some Democrats really don't have in their party right now.
Okay, let's move on to straw man with you, Shira. Senator Rand Paul winning the CPAC straw poll. How much does this mean overall?
It means, I think, more about the direction of the Republican Party in general than it does for 2016, right? The CPAC audience is not a microcosm of the Republican primary electorate in Iowa, New Hampshire, or South Carolina, right? So I think it's more interesting in terms of where the party's going, most notably his line about privacy issues and on cell phones and the amount of applause that got at the conference. I thought that was interesting because it really says something about the youth in the Republican Party, what matters to them. But will it matter for 2016? I don't think so that much.
And then, Robert, if you look at Senator Ted Cruz, that was a distant second there to 11%. Any surprises overall when you look at the results?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, let's remember, Shira's right to a certain degree. I mean, the CPAC crowd is very, very young. You're talking about a lot of millennials out there. And remember, Rand Paul's father has always been popular with the young millennial crowd, especially, and not only just from a conservative standpoint, but from a libertarian standpoint. And Rand Paul is picking up that mantle, if you will. So I wasn't really surprised by the results at all. I think that's really an indicative as to where the millennial generation of the Republican Party is right now.
Jason, how much weight do you think this straw poll carries? You've got Rand Paul winning handily, but did he deliver a message that would resonate with a national audience, one outside of CPAC, even outside of CPAC into Republican primaries?
No. Rand Paul is not going to be able to go anywhere nationally. The person who should be happy about this is Ted Cruz. If you look at who wins the CPAC straw poll during midterm elections over our last two election cycles, that person ends up being the nominee. It was John McCain in 2006, and it was Mitt Romney in 2010. So Ted Cruz should be thrilled, but I don't think Rand Paul can go anywhere past South Carolina. He has too many skeletons in his closet. He said too many offensive things about minorities and gays and lesbians. I don't think he can go anywhere.
Okay, so then if you're looking at the straw poll, let's put that list up again if we can have our director do that. Whom do each of you think will be the next nominee if you want to take it from this, if you want to factor this in? I'll let you go first, Robert.
Well, I think the Republican Party right now is looking at their governors, and they're trying to see whether, in fact, look, they tried the Senate route. They've looked at former governors, and I think they're looking at Scott Walker, and obviously Chris Christie's star is fading right now. So I think Scott Walker on that list most likely has a realistic chance of the nomination.
Shira, you want to pick someone from that list?
Yeah, I agree with Robert. I do think the Republican Party will want to go outside of Washington. As we've seen in the last couple of years, it's very hard to run from Washington, especially with the anti-establishment sentiment running through the party. I think Scott Walker and Chris Christie are probably more likely choices.
Jason, you agree?
Smart money is on Scott Walker, but the Republican money will be on Ted Cruz. He's just more exciting to the base. And I think Scott Walker, while he has the resume and he can talk about I've destroyed unions and I've done all these great and wonderful things and people still love me, I think Ted Cruz is going to be much more exciting to the base.
Okay. We have about a minute or so to run through our must-reads. Shira, you're first.
So as a journalist, I probably shouldn't pick a story that you should read for the pictures, but you really should. This Time magazine
it's
journalism.
amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful photos from the top of the New World Trade Center, looking down. The Statue of Liberty is like the size of a thimble, and there's a beautiful video, a profile of iron workers that goes with it. Take a few minutes, take a look. It's beautiful.
Totally agree with you on that one. Jason, yours?
It's a great article with the director of Ukraine is Not a Brothel. It's a documentary about a group called Femin. It's a group of feminist protesters in Ukraine known for their topless protests. They've actually been very active and arrested during this Ukrainian crisis. Really fascinating article. Good documentary to see as well.
You always bring interesting things that are kind of out there, I have to say. How about you, Robert?
The New York Times has a great story on how the Republican establishment is stamping out the hard right. They're pushing back very, very hard on the Tea Party part of the wing, and they're taking the party back. And this is a story that's quite frankly long overdue, and it really is a must-read.
Thank you, guys, all of you, Shira Center, Jason Johnson, and Robert Trainum. And that is a wrap of this Sunday edition of Weekends Without